Welcome. In front of me is a VIVO X300, and today I will show you how you can go through the setup process of this device. So, when you boot it up for the very first time, you should be presented with a similar page that you can see on my end right here, with probably the only difference it being in English instead of Polish like it is for me. So let's start off by changing the language right here to the desired one, English. And it also recommends us to choose a region. Now, I sure shit don't want to choose either United States or UK because I like my customer rights. So I'll be selecting where I'm actually from, which is Poland, as we do have pretty good consumer rights. I also want to point out one thing which might be just theoretical, I haven't actually checked it out. Where's Poland? Huh? Am I blind? Where is Poland? You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna click on whatever. Uganda, good enough. Still better than UK. Now I can select my region right here, which... No, I'm not in Germany. What the hell? There we go. Now, when selecting a region, I do recommend changing one that is strictly in European Union, though this is theoretical. I haven't gotten the chance to test it out. As European Union has different laws than, for instance, US or UK, you might actually have better advantages by selecting such a region, like EU region meaning. As an exact example, I want to kind of go about this. The UK, to give you like a backstory, basically try to force Apple to give them backdoor into the iOS operating system, and Apple refused. But even though Apple refused, if they did agree or they were forced to do so under some blackmail pretenses that they won't be able to sell phones there, then the company wouldn't be able to really disclose this. So in circumstances like this, when Apple wouldn't be able to disclose this, technically anyone living in UK and their phone could have a backdoor without you even knowing about it. So basically, UK government can access it at any point. Now, the theory would be here that if you're selecting that you're not even in UK, that they shouldn't be able to do this. That would be very dependent on how the system works, but just a food for thought right here. And another thing that would be kind of beneficial is, for instance, again with Apple, they seem to be the crown like suspect here for some reason, but Apple has their iOS pretty locked down. Maybe not so much now, but historically it's basically locked away from anyone else's use in terms of like free use. So you can't really jailbreak it. That's supposedly illegal. You can't use third-party stores. You have to go always to the Play Store. Now, EU has been basically beating them over the head, and Apple has been like a little child kicking and screaming about this, basically screaming, it's unfair. And EU is just kind of saying like, yeah, we don't give a shit, do this or pay a fine, and continue to pay fines. So basically Apple is forced to open up their iOS to other stores. Now, I can be pretty sure that they're going to only open it up in EU where they're forced to do so, and everywhere else they're just going to kind of keep it locked away because, you know, they want their 30% cut. If you don't know what it is about, why they're kicking and screaming, it's always about money. That's usually how business goes. So by selecting that your, for instance, iPhone or whatever this might be in the future is basically in a more friendly region, you might have better treatment. And one, like I've been saying, Apple here, which is not very comparable, but hey, Google is kind of going the same way with their store being locked, or they're planning to basically lock down their store. Now they're trying to bullshit their way that, oh, no, you can still sideload applications, don't worry about it. But basically what they're attempting to do now is force people, developers, to have signed applications. Now, their reasoning behind this is, we are fighting against malware applications. So we decided to completely ignore the fucking store that we have, Play Store, which already has malware applications, and we decided to go outside of it. Just, you know, don't look at in our house, don't look at our backyard, let's look at someone else's one. And that's where the problem is, apparently. And Again, if you don't know what it is, it's about the fucking money, obviously. Because applications like Revanced, CloudStream, and any kind of other way to circumvent ads on your device is basically not going to be signed by Google. And even if it is, it would force the developers of these applications to basically be liable for them. That's number one, making them a little bit easier to find. And number two, somehow by removing malware, they're somehow profiting. Now, as far as I know, there are other ways to remove malware, like, I don't know, fucking anti-malware programs that Windows, for instance, has. They might be shit, but I'm pretty sure Google's approach is even worse because it's greedy, predatory, and removes usage of free usage of your device. So you're basically losing control over your own OS. That doesn't sound too fun. So hopefully, for instance, in the future, when UK or not UK, Apple, oh no, Jesus, I'm getting brain dead here. When Google basically implements this, hopefully EU will fight against this, and then obviously again Apple will only comply where they're forced to. So just a bit of a kind of like a backstory and theory crafting right here for your future information and why you should do what I said before. Now, anyway, moving on, we have agreement and terms. So we have end user license agreement and terms or privacy terms. Yeah, these means absolutely nothing. It's Google, let's be honest. You don't have privacy on Google. If you want privacy, I highly recommend flashing your device and installing Graphene OS instead of this garbage thing that quotation mark supposedly gives you privacy notices. Sure. Anyway, moving on, we have set up using another device. Now, if you have another device, let me just bring up mine. Boom, you get this kind of pop-up, setup X300. So I can move over data from this phone to this one. But don't be fooled by this. This absolutely means shit. It's the most garbage thing you can use because the way it does it is, again, Google being creepy ass cunts. And the way it does it is by basically trying to force you to sync up everything to their cloud so they can, hoover it up, feed to their AIs, memorize it, make profiles against you. And that's the only thing that they will be importing. Data that they can basically somehow quantify and somehow monetize. So as an example, if you have applications like, let's see, like this one right here, CloudStream, that's one. Revanced YouTube, that's another one. These applications won't be moved. Hell, actually, none of the applications will actually be moved from your phone to this one. The way it's going to do it is it's going to move the Google account and then take the information of what was downloaded through Play Store on that Google account and what's assigned on the cloud, and then re-download it here. So you're actually downloading all these applications, which you could do yourself as well. So, like I said, it's kind of useless. And information that is a cloud store like contacts and so on will also be moved right here because it is cloud store. Anything that isn't on the cloud won't be moved, which is a great, useless feature. And this device itself comes with a much better tool to move data than this abhorrent garbage right here, which I'll be showing after the setup is finished if you want to utilize that instead, which I highly recommend. Now, so we're going to be skipping this. And connect to network. Now, I believe we are actually forced to do so. No, we're not. Thank you. Okay. The reason I'm saying this as a question mark is because Oppo, which is also one big parent company, owns Vivo and Oppo, forces you for some reason. But here, Winnie the Pooh isn't forcing us to sign into Wi-Fi, which is good. I like that. I like the freedom to set up my device the way I want to. So I'm going to be setting it up in offline mode, and it gives us quick information that basically won't be able to sign into Google account, restore apps and data, get software updates, and then enable automatic time and date. That's fine. None of these really matter. And some of the things here are kind of misleading. So restore apps and data. You don't need internet for that. If we're going to be using the application that I'm going to show you at the end, this doesn't really require it. It creates a hotspot between your device, old one, and this one, and basically moves over the applications that are physically on the old device. It doesn't need internet to do that anymore, like the Google version does. That's why it's kind of popping up, because this is a Google notification, so obviously they're only considering their own perspective of moving over data. Anyway, next we have set unlocking method. So we have fingerprint, face recognition, and PIN pattern or password under here. Now, by default, it looks like it opts into the 4 to 6 digit PIN, but we can change it to pattern or password. And that being said, let me just go back right here. When you're planning to use either one of those or both of them, the fingerprint or face recognition, just know that as these are biometric protections, they aren't 100% reliable. And because they aren't 100% reliable, the device will automatically force you to also set a screen lock, a physical one. So when these two options decide to have a stroke and just not recognize you because you might have the tiniest blemish on your finger or your face, I can always rely on the PIN pattern or password, which, no matter to the blemish, will always unlock your device as long as you type it in or input the code correctly. And now, alternatively, you can just skip protecting your device, which is what I'm going to do, but I don't actually recommend doing that for you. Your phone stores all your personal information, including contacts, photos, and so on. It's best to have that protected in case you would ever lose your device or have it stolen, that whoever will have that device doesn't have just easy access to all that data. So I would recommend protecting your device. Now, this is a phone that is of the company right here, so it doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm going to be using it, but I do have my phone protected. Now, moving on, we have Google services like location, scanning, and sending user and diagnostic data. Now, I have a lot to say about this garbage, but I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. You can turn all of this off, but just know it doesn't mean absolutely shit. These are the most kind of non-functioning toggles that you can ever encounter in any phone. So let me just kind of explain this. You have used location. We can turn that off, and that also turns off scanning. So by default, technically, we should not have Wi-Fi network scanning, and neither do GPS. GPS, not like location nor Wi-Fi location, should be functional. By the name of this, the device shouldn't know where you are located at. So that's one thing. And to take this even furthermore, send user and diagnostic data, location and user data could be considered as your location, which again, if we turn that off, now this phone should have literally no data that is going out of it about your position or anything like that. But that being said, even though you have this off and this off, don't worry, your phone still knows exactly where you are. That'd be through several different methods. Even when you put this phone into airplane mode, it still will know where you are located at, just without your permission at this point. Literally, it's just how it goes. So by default, even if you don't have your phone in airplane mode, with these options turned off, it shouldn't know where you are. But hey, guess what? It only mentions right here GPS and Wi-Fi. Guess what it doesn't mention? Bluetooth and scanning nearby devices. Hey, guess what other devices have enabled? Localization, which basically means that this phone connects to other phones, which then connect to the internet and let know that your device is in this location, basically by proximity, which means that you're still being tracked where you are located. And additionally, if you consider this, like if you have everything turned off, airplane mode, SIM out, and stuff like that, there's a reason why criminals are still found even when the phone has literally everything disabled. Shit, it could be even turned off. And yet it's still being tracked somehow. Do you think that's because these toggles work? Because I can tell you that it's not. Anyway, moving on. You can completely ignore those, as like I said, they mean nothing. If you want privacy, Graphene OS or other third-party distributors of just like Android forks will be the go-to options, because this one obviously will not be a secure one. Anyway, moving on, we have keep the system update. So we can basically enable automatic system updates by selecting next, or we can select the manual option if you want to. Send user and diagnostic data. Now, this is not for Google, this is now for VIVO. Again, we can disagree with this, but questions how well that listens to you is as good of a guess as mine, which I can guess that it's not really respecting your options. Services recommendations, so TWS services, you can enable this or disable. You can read exactly what this is if you're interested. Moving on, we have system navigation. We have button or gestures. By default, buttons are enabled, and you can swap the positions of the back buttons right here. Or you can enable gestures with no options right here. But there are additional options for gestures if you go into the settings. Moving on, this basically finishes up the setup. And there was one last thing that I wanted to show you. So let's get into the home screen. So if you're planning to move over data from your older device, and like I mentioned, there is a better way, you want to open up this application right somewhere here. Let me just quickly try to find it. I think it's this one, EasyShare. Agree, let's see. Yep, this is the one. So you'll be looking for this application either on Play Store or on the browser. I don't know if it should be available in the Play Store if you're using Android and also iOS. And here you just select transfer files, and on the old device which you would be launching this application on, you would only have one of these options, because you can only move data from here to here if you're using this brand's clone phoning application. So they're basically allowing you to move data to it, but not backwards, for obvious reasons. They created this to make it easy to move to their phone and not to move out of their phone. So that's something that you can use, which will work much better, as it copies everything, including data that is on your phone, that usually things like the normal Google cloning or Google backups or restorations don't do. So I recommend using this instead. Anyway, with that being said, hopefully you found this very helpful, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.